People's Liberation Army of China, over the next 2 years, was going to procure 1.4 million units of body armor. And they said the purpose for the body armor was so that China could deal with Taiwan secessionists and Americans. We are in a war, and the enemy is the People's Republic of China. Xi Jinping is going to lash out at the United States. Desperate men do desperate things. And I think Xi Jinping is starting to show desperation. And there are a number of symptoms of this, but clearly lashing out at the U.S. is one of them. Also, we see extraordinary information control in China right now, which is an indication that the Communist Party knows that it has a lot to hide.
It looks like China has bought the WHO because WHO officials say anything China wants them to say. So China's been issuing statistics showing that new infections are on the downslope. And that it corresponds with what Xi Jinping wants to do, which is to get Chinese workers back to their job sites. Because China has a vision of the world that is incompatible with ours, there is going to be a struggle between the United States and China. And I don't know if you term that a new Cold War or not, but this struggle goes to the core of our values. And so I do believe that China poses an existential threat. And I believe that we will see increasing friction between China and the United States. And that friction will continue as long as the Communist Party rules China. I'm talking about Chinese stability and strength. Everyone says China's going to own the 21st century. I'm saying maybe not so sure. And what I'm looking at, for instance, is Hong Kong, but also talking about internal matters, such as, for instance, the Chinese economy. And I'll mention that China has other problems like accelerated demographic decline, environmental problems, and of course, instability inside China itself. So, for instance, Xi Jinping has grabbed enormous power, but that's also created instability because in the past, when a Communist Party general, what Xi Jinping did was, in his grab for power, he got rid of rules. And that has helped him rise, but it also makes him vulnerable now, because if those rules were still in place, they would protect him while he's vulnerable. And he has, I think, now knows that, for instance, that he could lose not just power, but he could also lose his freedom, his assets, and maybe even his life. We're going back to a much more destabilized communist